Welcome to Real Estate Investing Abundance, the show for busy, fulfilled professionals like you to learn how to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alan Lomax.
Hello, enlightened investors. Delighted to be back with you again today. I'm your host, Dr. Alan, and I am excited to discover with you how we can transform obstacles into cash flow. From growing up with learning disabilities to barely passing public high school to living on the streets and on welfare to multiple suicide attempts, our guest, Darren Jacklin, thought he was fated for failure. Throughout his upbringing, he was repeatedly told that his disabilities would forever keep him from amounting to anything. For years, he struggled under the weight of these labels, accepting this as his identity until the pivotal moment when someone actually believed in him. Darren shares his transformative experiences that have allowed him to find purpose as a successful corporate trainer, world-class speaker, and investor in both real estate and businesses. Darren, before we go deeply into your life, share a memorable experience from your formative years that helped you to be the person you are today.
Yeah, great question. I remember when I was 7 years old and I would go around my neighborhood and solve problems where I grew up in a city of less than 20,000 people in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada. So a formative memory for me was, creating my business called Rent-A-Kid. And I just love to serve my community. I like to solve problems. And what I realized was a life lesson for me is that, as human beings, right, if we're looking at the International Space Station, looking down on planet Earth, and we look at this beautiful planet, all we are as human beings are avatars running around in these meat suits. But really, if we mapped everything all out, we're just a network of conversations. And what I discovered in my formative years is that anything that we really want in our lives is going to come from strangers. But as children, most of us in our environments growing up, we're taught don't talk to strangers. And today with this global pandemic called COVID-19, we're taught to social distance and keep ourselves and self-isolate ourselves. And yet, so anything we really want in our lives is going to come from strangers. And so the key thing is to learn how to build relationship equity with other people and make requests. And that's something we could unfold if you want in this conversation today about how to go out there and make requests through your network or online using social media to help you fulfill on your personal professional promises or goals or dreams that you want to acquire and achieve in your life.
Yeah, we'll get into that here in a moment. I just want to go back to this 7-year-old experience. Tell us more about, you said Rent-A-Child. Did I understand that?
Rent-A-Kid, yeah.
Rent-A-Kid, yeah. In
public school, I failed grade 1 of public school. And then was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. And then I was put into special education classes from grade 1 all the way through to grade 12. And so I was labeled retarded as a kid and told I'd probably not amount to much in my life. And so when these labels were put upon me within the school system, to me, I just felt like a normal kid. I played with kids in my neighborhood. I played with kids on the playground at school. I thought there's nothing wrong with me. And so when I became 7 years of age, my identity was challenged and I realized that I want to school wasn't for me. I didn't fit into the public school system, but I liked what we call today business or entrepreneurship. I didn't know what it was back then because I didn't have any role models or didn't have any understanding at my age. And so I would just go out and knock on doors and have conversations with people. And I would just solve problems, cutting grass, shoveling sidewalks in the wintertime, delivering newspapers, raking leaves, painting fences. I was very ambitious as a young kid. And by the time I was 9 years of age, I hired my best friends to come work with me in my neighborhood. In fact, I'm 49 years of age today, Dr. Allen. And 40 years later, these two friends of mine that I grew up with, we're still great friends to this day. We follow each other on social media. We interact with each other throughout the year. So it's all about building relationships. So I discovered today in life is that a lot of people, they're transactional, but they're not relational. And we see that a lot on social media. People will friend request you and then boom, right into your inbox. They're trying to pitch you on a product or a service or a business opportunity. And you're like, I don't even know you. I don't even know if I like you. I trust you. I don't have any rapport with you. And you're trying to get me involved in this opportunity. You're trying to sell me this product or service. And so it goes back to being relational versus transactional. And so at a young age, I learned it's all about building relationships with people and getting to know you and like you and trust you.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. As an industry-leading, relationship-focused, design-build construction firm, Mosaic Construction has worked in many different asset classes from multifamily to retail, medical, industrial, and commercial. Mosaic Construction works to execute interior and exterior renovations with their team of trades and project managers. Their experience with value-add improvements has resulted in increased ROI and long-term value of the assets. They work nationally in partnership with local trades to deliver thoughtful, problem-solving construction management solutions to all their clients. For a personal, no-obligation consultation, call Ira Singer, 773-491-3145, or email Ira at mosaicconstruction.net. You can also find Ira on LinkedIn.
Well, interesting. I was labeled a slow learner, actually never diagnosed. I actually have dyslexia, but that was not a thing when I was a child. It was just, you are a slow learner. So I was labeled as that as well. So I had that stigma to grow out of, but it took me a long time to grow out of that. And I actually didn't grow out of it until I actually realized, well, I could do something, and started my master's program, and
fantastic.
Really transformed my life in many different ways. But yeah, it's interesting how those stigmas stay with us for a long time. I didn't have your ambition as a child. I had opportunities to be a little more entrepreneurial, but I always dodged them. Well, you say that most of our goals don't require action. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before, because every time somebody's talking about goals, the next word out of their mouth is actions. So tell us about goals don't require actions.
Well, I've had a lot of adversities and failures and challenges and mistakes throughout my life growing up. It was a roller coaster and peaks and valleys. And through my self-discovery over the last few decades of my life, traveling this world many times, and my corporate training, background training over 1 million people in 50 countries, I had a chance to get around some of the most influential, powerful people in business today, in sports and music and entertainment, religion people, you name it, across the planet. I've met with royal family members, all kinds of people from all walks of humanity, from the most impoverished to the most influential. And one of the things I've discovered is that success leaves clues. And what I discovered throughout my self-discovery was most of our goals do not require our actions. And so if we unpack that, what does that mean? Most of our goals don't require our actions. It's about creating teams and teamwork. So for example, in my life, these are my top 10 personal promises to myself. Every year, I write out, what are my top 10 personal promises? What am I committed to in my life personally and professionally? So some people call them goals and dreams. I call them personal promises to myself, because then it's internalized that it's a personal promise. I give my word, my integrity, because without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability without integrity. And so when we look at most of our goals don't require our actions, with technology today and automation and virtual assistants and outsourcing, all this today, whatever goals or dreams or personal promises you have, first thing is, step number one is write it down on paper. So it's a written, people believe more when things are in writing versus verbal. We see that as a written contract, a written agreement, or a MOU, a memorandum of understanding. Write things down. So then there's more believability and more evidence of that. Then what you look at is all of our life, when it comes to action. So number one, fear does not live in action. Okay. Fear does not live in action. So whatever you want, it's the thinking about it, it's in the analysis paralysis of it, is where you get that insecurity, that fear, that doubt, that worry. But when you're in action, there's no fear. So here's the thing to consider. What is fear? I always ask you, what is fear? Well, fear is, I say, where does fear live? Well, people say, well, I don't know. Well, is fear past, present, or future? Well, fear is in the future. So if it's in the future, where does it live? Well, fear is an anticipation of pain. So it's anticipated pain, right? So it lives out there in the future. So the thing is, with most of our goals don't require our actions, is all it is, number one, is knowing what you want, what's your personal goals or dreams or your promises. Then what you do is it's about making requests. And I've got an opportunity, an invitation, or a bonus opportunity for your listeners. Over the next 7 days, I just want you to make requests. So they could be just a request, a powerful request, an outrageous request, an unreasonable request, but I just want you to start making requests and practicing this. And the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. I've done this millions of times. I mean millions, not without exaggeration or embellishment. I've literally done this millions of times throughout my life, and I do it all the time. So for every question that we don't ask, Dr. Allen, the answer is always no. For every question we don't ask, the answer is always no. And so when we make a request, it's only a 3-step process. People only do one of 3 things. Step number 1 is they'll accept the request. So if I go into a restaurant and I make a request for a complimentary dessert, the server is going to, number one, accept my request. He or she will decline my request, or he or she will counteroffer my request. But the key thing is I've made the request and allowing them to accept, decline, or counteroffer. So a lot of times, people as entrepreneurs, they don't have the financial budgets to hire an assistant or a virtual assistant or a team member. Like, man, I don't have the money. So when I started, I was flat broke financially. I was just struggling to pay my bills on time every month. So what did I do? I reached out and I contacted local colleges and universities. And I said, listen, I'd be willing to mentor some of your students as an apprenticeship program. I don't have any money to pay them, but if they want to come with me for a semester and do some of my administration task work that I can delegate to them, I'd be willing to put them into my environment to train, develop them in terms of real life business. So over the years, I've had many university and college students from all walks of humanity come work with me on a volunteer basis as an apprenticeship, as a mentee. Now, they're brand new, they're green, so there's a learning growth curve, and they're young men and women. But I've had a lot of students over the years, and they were my human resources, my labor that I had. And so starting off with, look at most of your goals don't require your actions. So what I always ask people, take a look at your life in terms of self-discovery and look at an area of your life, personally, professionally, does not have any workability. So there's no joy, there's no fulfillment, there's no energy. It's not working, right? So it could be around bookkeeping, it could be around accounting, it could be around following up, prospecting, networking, recruiting, social media, marketing, pick an area of your life, personally, professionally. For me, here in 2021, it was around my health and fitness. Now, I was 218 pounds. I was fat. I was overweight. January 28th of this year, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm shaving. I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you know what? I'm out of integrity. I'm out of integrity in how I'm treating this beautiful body. And I need a call to action. So I'm clumsy when it comes to working out. I'm the guy you don't pick on a sports team because I'm the clumsiest guy who's going to screw it up. Okay, I'm not the guy that go to the gym with you and be in a fitness class because I'll probably injure myself. I'm clumsy. So I just identify with myself with that. So because I'm not kinesthetic, I'm very visual, very auditory and kinesthetic. So what I did was with some other people here in Vancouver, Canada, we created a private WhatsApp channel and we created a hiking group because there's so many hiking trails around beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So I said to everybody, listen, I'm going to be the slowest person in the group. Okay. But I'm not going to quit. I'm committed to my commitment. So what I've done is since I started over the last 9 months, I'm down 31 pounds. I'm in the best physical shape of my life. I've multiplied my energy just from doing that. So most of our goals don't require our actions. So think of an area of your life that you want to accelerate. It could be around finances, health, fitness, spirituality, whatever it is, or you want to create a startup company, you need to raise some financial capital. So most of your goals don't require your actions. And when you realize that looking around your life, you can create teams and teamwork by making requests. So start making a list of where you want to make requests. So I'll give you 2 questions. Question number 1 is, where am I not requesting in my life? Just take a look at your life. Where are you not requesting? Where is there no fulfillment? Where is there no joy? Where is there no celebration or celebration? What's not working? What doesn't have workability? Just be honest with yourself. Where am I not requesting in my life? And question number 2 is, who do I become when I'm not making requests? Like, just notice, are you stingy? Are you cheap? Are you coming from lack and scarcity rather than abundance and prosperity? Are you contracting rather than expanding? So like, I'm a request making machine. Anybody that's around me in proximity, I'll always be making requests because people are always waiting for an invitation. Right? I was hiking yesterday out in the forest, met 2 people from England. They're on a hiking trail here in Vancouver. And I just got into conversation with them and I made a request for them to follow me on my social media. And I made a request to meet with them in a couple of weeks because I'm going over to England here on a trip here coming up the next couple of months. And I want to ask them about some things where they live in terms of some places for me to set up for some business meetings. So I'm always making requests. And you'd be amazed that when you do this, you're going to be scared at first. You're going to be awkward or weird or uncomfortable. But the more that you consistently practice this, the better you'll get at it. And you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish by most of your goals not requiring your actions by just making requests.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Would you ever invest all your money in a single stock? Very unlikely. Yet investors are willing to risk $50,000 to $100,000 in a single property in real estate all the time. Avestor is the world's first customizable real estate investment platform. Investors can build their own custom portfolios, selecting investments across multiple asset classes such as single-family homes, multifamily, student housing, self-storage, and shopping centers. You can also invest across multiple markets and different time frames. Avestra also enables other real estate entrepreneurs and syndicators to build and use Avestra's infrastructure and cloud platform to create their own customizable real estate funds. To learn more, visit us at avestrainc.com. Avestra, real estate investing made simple.
Well, that's an interesting philosophy. However, there's a lot of action there behind those particular goals. Making requests is extraordinarily challenging for those of us who don't have a habit of doing that.
Yeah.
If you don't mind share with us your 10 promises for the year.
Yeah. So I have, number one is I'll read it to you guys. I easily energize my body, my mind with exercise 4 days a week. So I commit to my commitments by energizing my body, my mind by physical exercise. Because if I don't schedule it in my calendar, it doesn't exist in my life, it's not going to happen. So that's number one. Number two is I'm living a deeply connected, committed, and passionate, playful relationship with Tatiana. She's the love of my life. So I'm living a deeply connected, committed, passionate, and playful relationship with Tatiana. And I metric all this. I keep track in my daily journal. Am I connecting? Am I celebrating? Am I being present? All that stuff. Number three is I easily have a personal financial net worth of $25 million, okay, which I'm grateful for in my life. And so to me, I've dedicated my life to building financial wealth, making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and having a lot of fun. But I'm not motivated by money. I've actually committed to giving all my wealth. I've committed $100 million over the next decade towards global philanthropy through our family foundation called Link Foundation. So we have a foundation established here in Canada. And in the next 2 years, we'll set up in the United States as a 501c3. And we've dedicated $100 million towards global philanthropy. We've built our first school with our partners over in the slums of Liberia, West Africa, called the Link Leadership Academy. And this is one of many schools that we're going to build across the African continent. And we've got a whole master plan and strategic roadmap, what we're going to do with Link Foundation. So that's that. Next one is number four is I easily purchased 2 companies this year through acquisitions. And I'm here to say that we're just coming to the finish line right now on a couple acquisitions here in North America with my acquisition team. And we're completing on some acquisitions for the Darren Jacklin group of companies. And so I built an 8-figure real estate portfolio of single family homes and car washes and mix and REITs and all that stuff across North America. Now I'm building a portfolio of companies through the Darren Jacklin group of companies, and we'll build it to a 9-figure enterprise. And all that cash flow then flows over to Link Foundation for global philanthropy. So I'm just completing 2 acquisitions now. And then, so there's that. And then number 5 is I easily receive passively $25,000 in monthly recurring income. In my life, I'm all about multiple revenue streams of income. So I play these games with myself. And so to me, I'm like, okay, I've flown around the world. My next big goal is I want to start flying more private so I can get more places. So I'm at 29 revenue streams right now, passive revenue streams, and I'm going to get to at least 100 passive recurring revenue streams monthly. And I'll just probably eventually get up to 1,000 revenue streams. Again, all that money just flows through me, through my team, and eventually through the Foundation for Global Philanthropy. So I just keep playing games. I'm already financially independent, but I just like to build more wealth. And so I just keep playing these games. And so for me now, this year I said, I want to make another $25,000 a month, passive recurring money. So to me, it's about making more money while I'm sleeping than while I'm awake. And that's where a game play is. I like making more money while I'm sleeping than while I'm awake. And so I want another $25,000, which we're achieving. And then number 6, I easily acquire 15 more single family homes. Currently, I'm at 11 right now of this year, and I'll finish it off with another 4 to 5 here by the end of the year, and I'll achieve that target. I easily generate over $2 million in active income this year. So there's active and there's passive income. Active income is where I'm trading time for money, serving on different paid boards of directors, advisory boards, consulting, taking on management consulting roles in terms of different companies I've acquired through acquisition. So $2 million a year on that. And then number 8 is I'm in demand to serve on more paid boards of directors of companies, publicly and private around the world. I get headhunted and recruited nonstop all the time. Frankly, I'm grateful and I'm blessed with that, but I love to serve and make a difference and grow and scale companies. And then number 9 is Tete and I do one humanitarian trip this year for Link Foundation. That got postponed because of COVID-19 and the global lockdown. But we are actually scheduling right now for 2022 to do our humanitarian trips. And then number 10 was during COVID-19 lockdown, I've been over 25 years, I've had all these top publishers and book promoters, all that stuff want me to write a book. Had no desire, no ever interest. And then during lockdown, as I was doing some estate planning and end of life planning, Titi and I were doing some estate planning, I thought, you know what? I've got 20 plus years of journals where I've documented my life every day of my journey of all the peaks and valleys and adversities and challenges. I thought, okay, which nieces and nephews as part of my estate plan, just in case something should happen to me as a contingency plan, who's going to receive these? And I thought, wow, there's so much gold in these journals that I should pay it forward and pass it on and serve humanity. And so I created a book called Until I Become. And my first book gets published and sells over 5,000 copies, and which it will this year. In fact, the book comes out next month. And so to me, it's just about serving humanity. So that's my top 10 personal promises. And then I have my habits, my core values, and then things I cherish about Tatiana. And by the way, I write out these every day. My journal is a non-negotiable daily habit, daily discipline. It's a non-negotiable. I write them out every single day. Yeah, I focus on making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, having a lot of fun. But in the end, all the financial wealth goes to the foundation for global philanthropy.
Enlightened investors will be right back after this important announcement. I have a big ask that will only take a moment of your time. Ratings and reviews are the lifeblood of our podcast. So to leave a review, iPhone or other Apple iOS device users, go to Apple Podcasts or iTunes. For all you non-Apple device users, go to podchasers.com. On either platform, search for Real Estate Investing Abundance. Once found, please leave a review and a rating. Subscriptions are also vital to our show's success, so please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. It is free to subscribe, and you can unsubscribe at any time.
Fantastic. Well, you say that we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems.
For sure. Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'll just share, just full disclosure, put all my cards on the table. I'll be vulnerable with everybody. So in my 20s, I had an R9 credit rating, which is worst case scenario here in Canada, an R9. Like if you look at a FICO score in the United States or Equifax changing your credit, okay, I was at the lowest level of credit score you can get. Like I broke the record. Like I was high risk. Like even hard money lenders wouldn't lend me money. That's how bad it was for me. And so I'm down and out. I'm struggling financially. I'm owing money on the street. I'm getting collection fees, creditors calling me, sending me demand letters, coming to my door. I was drowning financially. In fact, I went to apply for personal bankruptcy in my late 20s, and I couldn't file for personal bankruptcy because I couldn't afford to pay the fees. So people always ask me, they go, Darren, have you ever been bankrupt? I said, no, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford personal bankruptcy because I couldn't pay the fees. And so we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems. And I'm here to tell you, somebody today who was once homeless, once on the streets, living on welfare, eat my next meal out of a garbage dumpster, okay, to someone who had an R9 credit rating, 3, 4, 5 months behind on the bills, to someone today who's a decamillionaire, who's made millions and millions of dollars. And I can tell you from personal experience as a case study of being down and out, homeless, that, I have no formal education. I barely passed public high school. I didn't have didn't grow up in a really wealthy family. I grew up in a middle income family. So we don't have money problems like we don't have thinking problems. There's no lack I have money problems right now. I make a lot of money. I don't know where to put it all. So I'll just full disclosure, but I have people around me on an investment team, right? So my friends I had a guy call me the other day. He's got $2 million. He's not sleeping. He had $2 million. I'm meeting with a family next week in Dubai that's sitting on $2 billion liquid cash. Okay. So the thing is, we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems. What does this mean? There's two types of people. There's people who've got a lot of money, make a lot of money through multiple streams of income, and they are looking for allocation and deployment of capital. Then there's people, which is 78% of the North American population, live paycheck to paycheck, right? And the difference between these two people, and I've been in both camps, is when you're living paycheck to paycheck, and I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. I know what it's like to be so financially broke that I'm living hour to hour. Like I couldn't wait 2 weeks. Like I couldn't see 2 weeks. I had so many bills and so much debt. I couldn't wait till payday because that money was going to get garnished. I had to make bank today. And so we don't have money problems. Like one of the thinking problems is that there's no lack of money on this planet. There's an overflowing financial abundance of wealth. Wealth is always circulating. What's the fastest path to cash? Solving problems. That's all it is. You go to a doctor, you go to a dentist, you go to a chiropractor, you go to a plumber, you go to an electrician. Any of these men and women that are professional people, they're there to solve problems. So you put on your problems. If you and I, Dr. Allen, we went and watched the news, CNN today on the news media, I don't watch it a lot because of the vibration of energy for myself personally, but I would get really excited because to me, those are opportunity zones. And so the thing is, during COVID-19, I tripled my financial net worth. I've bought a lot of real estate. I'm buying companies. My investment portfolio is growing. Some of the companies I'm involved with, we've hired lots and lots of people. Like things just took off. Why? Because in 2008 and 2009, I almost went bust. I was just doing corporate training. I was traveling the world doing corporate training. I had all my eggs in one basket. And while the market was going down in 2008, 2009, companies were retracting on their agreements and wanting their financial deposits back. And I wasn't traveling on the road doing corporate training seminars. And so I was upside down, struggling financially. So I said, in the next 7 to 10 years, I got to get liquid. I got to have cash reserves, and I got to create multiple revenue streams because I don't want to live my life this way anymore. And so if you want to earn more money, just look at your neighborhood, look at your community, look online, and start to look at where can I solve problems and how can I monetize that and get paid for it. Okay? That's all it is. It is looking around and seeing how you can be in service, not being selfish, being in service to other people and solving problems. That's all I do. I'm doing acquisitions right now of acquiring companies by solving problems with these business owners. They want to retire. They want to spend more time with their family, their kids, their grandkids. They've been doing this a long time and they want to do something else. And they want to go through a liquidity event. And they want to have some cash and just do something different with their life. So I'm acquiring these companies, but really what I'm doing is I'm buying cash flow. Because here's something that's great. People want to make more money. It's easier to acquire revenue than to create revenue. So a lot of people want to go out and do the startup route and raise money through friends and family to start. It's hard. It's a grind. I've done it. It's a lot of work with no guarantee and it's high risk. Whereas it's easier to go buy a company that's been around for 5 or 10 or 15 years that's got solid financials that you can verify. And then you can go to an accredited investor or high net worth or ultra high net worth investor, someone who can write you a check, and you can show them in the data room exactly the last 5, 10 years of the financials, right? They're all updated and audited. And then they'll write you a check much easier as part of the discovery and due diligence process. We don't have money problems like we don't have thinking problems. Listen, I'll share something with you. I just made a phone call for $10 million US. Okay, just recently, made for $10 million US, made a phone call and got pre-approved for $10 million US. It's easier to raise $10 million than it is to raise $10,000. And I'll tell you, 15 years ago, that didn't make any sense to me. Today, I have a friend of mine just borrowed, $500 million for some real estate acquisitions. I just was with him recently. And it's like, Darren, it's easier to borrow $500 million US than it is to borrow $50,000 from my friends and family. And so people aren't thinking big enough. They're not playing a big enough game. Like if somebody approaches me, I'm a high net worth investor. Somebody approaches me and they got an opportunity for $50,000. I want to return to the email. It's a waste of it's not the best use of my time. But if somebody sends me something, because I also am a partner in a private equity firm called Black House Private Equity. I'm a financial partner. If it's a big deal, it will get my attention. So a lot of people are not thinking big enough and they're playing too small. And so we don't have money problems like we don't have thinking problems. So start playing bigger. And if you want to earn more money, serve more people and solve bigger problems. That's all it is. Solve problems and you will be richly rewarded with things that you do. It's incredible. I just received a check just a couple of weeks ago by courier in the mail for thousands of dollars from an introduction I did almost 3 years ago while I was in Florida. I put two guys together in a dinner meeting. I didn't ask for anything. Put two guys together. COVID-19 slowed things down, travel, all that kind of stuff. So now 3 years later, they worked out an agreement. They've done a joint venture and they felt it was fair and equitable to bring me in on the deal and pay me a referral partner agreement fee. And I just got a mailbox check in the mail a couple of weeks ago and a thank you card thanking me. I'm thinking this check is more than most people make in a month. And it took me, 15 minutes to make the introduction. And this is what people make in 6 months in income, the average person in North America. And I'm just like, wow. So you can leverage your relationships. And, I met a guy one time in Seattle. I was flying from Seattle, Washington to Los Angeles on Alaska Airlines. Guy sat beside me one day. I said, what do you do? And he goes, I broker people. I said, what? And he goes, I attend celebrity charity events and fundraising events where there's influential people. And if you want to meet like a celebrity movie star or celebrity sports star or some business figure, I can make an introduction for you for an hour or 90 minutes like I was a Warren Buffett, but you're going to pay $250,000. I said, what do you get paid? Because I get paid 25%. So when I close the deal, I get 25% commission off of brokering the lunch. And he goes, I just get you with influential decision makers and I get paid. And I said, are you? And he goes, Listen, if I close one deal a month, I'm making some pretty good coin. I may have to make 400 or 500 phone calls to make that one deal close. But as I just close one deal, I'm making some pretty good, because I make really good money, but I'm making lots of phone calls and doing lots of follow-up, but most people won't do that.
Well, Darren, what a fascinating conversation. And I know that our viewers and listeners would love to know how to contact with you. So tell us how they can do that.
Yeah, sure. You can always Google my name, Darren Jacklin, or just go to darrenjacklin.com. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter at darrenjacklin.com. If you want to pre-order a copy of my new book that comes out, which is a very practical book, it's untilibecome.com. And if you want to check out our Family Foundation for Global Philanthropy, that's link.org, ly2nk.org, link.org. Or just Google me, and all the social media channels will come up on the Google there. But yeah, I love to make a difference in people's lives. And I like my story kind of like a case study to inspire other people that it's possible that if I can go from where I was to where I am today, very abundant in my life, then I want to pay that forward and pass it on to other people. And to me, it's about collecting the stories. I want to meet people and say, this interview, my book, whatever it is, made a difference in my life. That's what it is for me. I like collecting stories of life experiences of how I've touched, moved, and inspired people in terms of transforming the human spirit and creating that ripple of impact.
Well, Darren, it has been a delight. What I take from this is to realize what fear is and to think rather than to necessarily take action, and to think bigger. And it has been a delight having you today. Thanks so much, Darren, for being with us.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.